It's exactly stuff like this. Knowing when to dose, when not to dose, what kind of fish can live with each other, how to best rock escape, all these things. There's so much to learn with all of it. We really have to educate ourselves. And that means asking people, asking around, going on the forums, reading. Some people are very adept at taking care of a reef, but maybe they're not so great at explaining things. And so it's really, really, the weight is on ourselves to learn all this stuff. That's all, plain and simple. Nothing that's not common sense, right? It's all common sense. All right, so it's been about 4 hours, and immediately after mixing this one, I saw that it was super cloudy, right? I had that one on the power head, and it did not look like it was going to settle out to me. So I went ahead and mixed another batch with the same amount of Kalkwasser in there. Although this one I added the Kalkwasser first, then I added water, and it mixed as I was adding the water in there. And then I shook it around a little bit for 30 seconds, and it was pretty cloudy. And then now 4 hours later, it's pretty much settled out. So after seeing that this was cloudy, I researched on Google, Mr. Google there, who pulled up all kinds of articles all over the place. Or not articles, but Reef to Reef comments and Reef Central, and people talking about it all over Facebook and stuff. But I cannot find anyone advising not to use a power head to stir and as a fact, a lot of people do use power head. In addition, they use those stirrers. So I kind of wonder, do those people who are using the stirrers and all those things that do automatic mixing, do those ones ever settle out? Like, even this one doesn't look like it's that settled out. I wonder if maybe it's just the C-cam that that's just the way it is. But to me, it feels like I mixed this one so well that everything that was in there is still floating. And I just don't want to add that one to the main display, mostly because I don't think you want the stuff that's settled out on the bottom to go in the tank. And if it hasn't settled, if it's still in the water column, that means it's going to be in the tank if I dose it. My gut instinct tells me, in everything I've read on the chemistry of Kalkwasser, which is alkalinity and calcium, that what I've been doing, right, is taking some RO water and taking a little bit of Kalkwasser. And I've been doing it, I think you can do 1 teaspoon to a liter or something like that. Anyway, what I'm doing here is a 1/4 teaspoon in just a small jar, and this is overkill. Okay, that's a serious overkill. 1/4 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon. And so anyone who doses Kalkwasser knows that when you put this stuff in a container and mix it up, it gets super cloudy, right? So you don't want to mix it too much, as I have found, because I've put a pump in a big container and I let the pump go for an hour, and then lo and behold, a week later it's still cloudy like that. And so I don't really like the idea of dosing cloudy water to my aquarium, because I don't know, is that gonna just precipitate out or fall to the bottom on the stand? What's it going to do? Is it going to mix in the water column? I don't know. But something I did, I was cleaning out one of these containers after dosing it. So now that's probably mixed enough, right? So you mix it a few times and then you let it settle. By the end of the day, it's going to be clear. Not super clear. It's still going to be kind of cloudy. So something I did after one of my containers was empty and you still have that slurry at the bottom, I took the slurry, dumped it outside in my favorite spot, and then I came back to rinse it out and it was filled up with water. And as I was scrubbing the walls, I thought, I wonder if I add some magnesium to that water, what would happen? So, everything that I read, right, no more mixing yet. Everything that I read is that you don't want to add magnesium. Not everything I read. Everything on the Reef to Reef, all for Reef, and all these different forums and Facebook and everybody says do not put magnesium into your Kalkwasser solution because your magnesium is going to precipitate out. But when I was cleaning that container, and I researched that after I cleaned the container. I cleaned the container and I thought, well, what if I just put a little bit of magnesium? And I did. I put some magnesium in there and the thing was clear after about an hour. So I thought, what if I dose magnesium to my Kalkwasser slurry? And then I did that and it seemed to clear out and it worked just fine. But then after reading on the internet, I discovered everybody's saying that my pH should have dropped. Ooh, I should measure the pH first, right? I want to measure the pH of this before and after I put the magnesium. So two things are supposed to happen. One, right now the pH in here should be around 12 if I put the right ratio in there. And if I add the magnesium, the pH should drop considerably. And also the magnesium should precipitate out and just be left at the bottom. Even after stirring a few times, it should precipitate. So let's do this. Let me go get the pH thermometer, the pH meter, and I'll be right back. Put it in the water. And it is looking like, hey, stop it. 12.3. I'm accidentally touching the lens. 13. So it's 13. It's probably not 13 because this meter is kind of screwed up. But what we really care about is it going to drop all the way to like 9 or 8 or something. So it's 13 now. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to add not a quarter teaspoon. But I'm going to add a whole teaspoon. Is that showing up on there? Okay. Of magnesium. And we're going to find out if that pH drops. But we want the water to actually clear completely in between. Now, in order to do this experiment correctly, we don't want to lose our pH. So I am sealing it, just sealing it, as much as I can with this. And we're not going to allow any air-gas exchange, and we're going to find out what happens. See you on the other side. So we're about 30, 40 minutes into this. And I just wanted to show, I thought this was pretty cool. You can see clearly that water, 2/3 of it is super clear. Not too bad, not too bad. So we're about an hour into this now and looking very clear up on top. We are about the next morning, not quite 24 hours, but let's open it up. We can see that either the magnesium has precipitated out and it's sitting at the bottom there, or who knows. But let's see what the pH is. I don't want to disturb that, goodness. Put that on pretty tight. So let's take a look here. Let's get our little pH monitor. And we can see I left, something was on the surface of that. So we have dropped. We've dropped from, is that showing up in the camera there? My little camera lens thing is 10.3, so the pH has definitely dropped. And I'm willing to bet that not only has the pH dropped, but the magnesium has precipitated out and it's sitting at the bottom there. But let's just test this water for the magnesium just to see what's what. Let me go grab the test kit. Check if there's any magnesium left in the top water column there. And then probably the other thing I'm going to do is throw it all out. Mix a jar of just magnesium, the same 1 teaspoon, and then we'll also do a magnesium test and see where it's at. But let's check it out. This goes pretty quick. We get 2 milliliters. And then 5 drops of this guy. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 scoop of this guy. Ah. Swirl 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Then we take 1 milliliter of this solution. Okay. And since I have no idea, I'm not shooting for 13, I'm not shooting for anything. I have no idea where it's going to be at, so I'm just going to add it slowly the entire time. And as soon as it changes, then that's what we're going to register. That's going to be our baseline. If it even changes. I don't know if it's going to change at all. Oh, there it goes, right there. So that is 1.7. No, that's showing up clear or not. It's 1.7. All right, fresh start. Clear water there. We're going to get the magnesium. Now, when I was dumping out that solution, it didn't really mix very much. It stayed pretty solid at the bottom, so I went ahead and put it in a coffee filter, and we'll see what happens. But now we're just going to dump in a teaspoon of magnesium, which is what we did yesterday. And we're going to mix it up. And then we're going to see, maybe I should, I don't know, let it sit in the water for a while so that, I mean, how long does it really take for the salt to mix into the water? Does it take that long? There's a few crystals spinning at the bottom, you can see. But even when I pre-mix this stuff and dosing it into a tank, I have a big container of magnesium that I dose into that tank. It still has little crystals at the bottom even after a week. I don't know why it doesn't mix into the water, but it doesn't. You can see there at the bottom, there be some crystals. I'm just going to let it sit here for half hour and I'll come back. Let's see where we're at. Looks like there's a little bit settled down there at the bottom, just a teensy amount. Who knows, that might be residual Kalkwasser. But let's give her a test. Get the 2 milliliters. Boom. Boom. Five drops of this bad boy. I can just go dump this into the tank. One, two, three, four, five. Scoop of this bad boy. There we go. Swirl 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Got our 1 milliliter. And I'll bring this up to the camera. We'll do the same thing. When's it gonna change color? Is it going? Is it going? Is it going? No, not yet. Almost, almost. No, not yet. Keep going, keep going. Oh, maybe it won't change. Oh, no, not yet. Well, last drop. There it is. Come on. Well, it's changed. But I want to get that last drop. Okay. It's definitely changed. And lo and behold, that took us way down. Wow, that took us all the way to the bottom. Look at that plunger. I don't know if that's showing up on there. No. That plunger's all the way, it's bottomed out. I'm gonna squeeze, I can maybe get one more drop out of there. So it just barely changed on us, didn't it? So if it's at 0, what does the instruction say if it's at 0? 1500. So in here right now is 1500 parts per million of magnesium. Is that parts per million? I can't remember what that is. It's 1500 magnesium, whatever that is. Doesn't say. Let's assume it's parts per million. Oh yeah, there it says it right there. Parts per million. Okay, so what do we find out? Don't add magnesium to your Kalkwasser. You can. It's just that your magnesium might precipitate a little bit, because that's a significant. Well, what did we? It was 1.7. So what is 1.7? 1.7 is what gives me. I'm sorry, not 1.7. 0.17. It's somewhere between 1260 and 1230 because I only get 0.18 and 0.16 on here. 0.18 and 0.16. And that is somewhere between, we'll just call it 1250. It's about 1250 parts per million. So started out at 15, dropped down to 12.5. So it dropped 250 parts per million. And that's per 1 scoop of this, right? Per 1 teaspoon of magnesium, the concentration doesn't matter, right? Because the ratios are the same. It's the ratios that matter. 1/4 teaspoon is way too much Kalkwasser for this little tiny jar. So maybe my ratios are off a little bit. Maybe that's why I was registering 1300, although maximum saturation of Kalkwasser should only come in at 12 pH, not 13. So I still think my instrument is wrong, is registering incorrect. But bottom line is pH is going to drop. You're still going to get the lime water. It's just that the pH is going to be dropped because of the when you add the magnesium to that, it drops the pH. And the Kalkwasser, the lime water, is dropping the it's saturating, it's precipitating out some of the magnesium. But we saw it wasn't like a drastic 100% thing. So now I wonder, is it all for Reef? There's a product out there that's a 3-part. It does Kalkwasser, magnesium, and is it potassium? Or I can't remember what the other ingredient is in there. Not potassium. Strontium. It's those 3 things, and then plus some trace elements that it has all in one container. So I wonder if they have figured out some sort of ratio that allows you to put Kalkwasser and magnesium in the same batch of water. But maybe they've factored in that some of it's going to precipitate out and the pH is going to drop a little bit. And maybe that doesn't really matter, because if you can add enough of this to your tank, does it really matter? Because if you're doing it in one and it's nice and clear, your water in your tank is clear rather than cloudy, because Kalkwasser itself, it never clears 100%. When you add it to the aquarium though, when you add it to your display tank, you don't see the cloudiness because you're only putting in a few drops at a time, so maybe that doesn't really matter in the long run. I was looking for a lazy solution, putting it all in one container, but I think I'm going to keep them separate for now. Because why not? I have the extra pump on there and it's not doing anything. Might as well put it to work. Alright, see you on the next. Spicy Reef here, signing off.
Now what are you doing?
I think I got it.
How do you